he started training, weight training, very late in life. He was nearly 53, 54, I think, something like that. And he said that's the best thing ever that he's done. And it's funny enough, I was listening to him and I was thinking to myself, because obviously I put everything that he's saying into thinking, oh, well, I do this, you know.
Right.
So this is all good things that I'm doing, that this guy's doing, and he's talking like, you know.
Welcome to Real People, Real Results, Real Change, the podcast that's dedicated to helping real people develop real health and fitness in their lives. Real people like you, business owners, professionals, house husbands and housewives, and students. I'm Stefan, I'm a personal wellness coach at YouFit Studio, and I'll be your host. This episode, I'm talking again with Daksha Pancholi. Daksha's a retired optometrist, but at 65, she's also put health, fitness, strength and mobility at the very centre of her life. And we're going to be talking today about how age is just a number. And in many ways, as we get older and we move from middle age onwards, actually this is a prime time to focus on our fitness, and there's so much we can do in order to maintain our health and fitness and strength into our older years. All right, Daksha, thank you so much for joining me again for this episode. I'm so keen to kind of dig in with you a little bit more about specifically, so I'm 52, you're 65.
That's right.
And we know, like, you know, in the Western world, we're extremely lucky. Longevity, you know, is probably the best it's ever been. And so, and I often think, like, you're only as old as you feel.
That's right. Yes.
You know, age is just a number and all of that. Having said that, for many people, it's a very real thing, or feels very real. And, you know, I've certainly talked to people, you know, and especially guys, I think, my age, who are, you know, they're already talking about winding down, and they feel and kind of project that, you know, and imagine that the rest of their life is going to be it's almost like they've reached their peak and they're kind of on a downward trajectory. On a personal level, I don't feel that at all. I feel like, you know, that I've hopefully got my best years ahead of me in many ways, that, you know, that I almost feel like I've only just started to sort of get my head around a lot of things, and I'm excited for the future. And I know you feel very similarly, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And I'd like us to talk about that a little bit and get some of your sort of takes on this, and some of your kind of thoughts and experiences and things, because I think I'd like to hopefully inspire people to start thinking about, you know, there's all these terms, right, like their older years and all this kind of thing, but as something rich and that you know, maybe their best years can be ahead of them, right? So tell you. So you were mentioning last time that you do a lot of steps each day. You walk every morning.
Absolutely, yes.
And you're doing, you know, give or take like 10,000 steps each morning as a starting point, and you're listening as well. So you embrace strength training. You're doing cardio training.
That's right.
You're getting all these steps in. We didn't really talk about nutrition so much, but I know that's part of your, you know, your lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely.
But you're not just fueling your body in these very nutritious kind of ways. You're also fueling your mind.
That's right, yes.
Tell me a little bit about this. Actually, how did you get into listening to podcasts?
Basically, I just when I started walking, initially I used to listen to music, or, you know, just do some audio books or something like that. And then I came across listening to some podcasts, and one particular person that I do listen a lot to, a couple of them, and one of them is Dr. Rangan Chatterjee.
Okay.
And he has some really interesting people on his podcasts. And funnily enough, I was listening to one a couple of days ago, and it was about one of the guys. One of his guests who was 63 years old. And he came on there and he was just talking about a lot about food and nutrition and everything. And then he was like, he started training, weight training, very late in life. He was nearly 53, 54, I think, something like that. And he said that's the best thing ever that he's done. And it's funny enough, I was listening to him and I was thinking to myself, because obviously I put everything that he's saying into thinking, oh, well, I do this, you know.
Right.
So this is all good things that I'm doing, that this guy's doing. And he's talking like, you know, and then he was like, the best thing is I'm 63, and he had some kind of a test done where you can tell what your internal body, all your organs or whatever, what age they are. And he was saying that he's 63 and his internal organs are like at 42 or 43 years old. So he says, I'm happy for feeling that way. So he basically says, I'm 63, but I feel like 43 kind of a thing. So it's all the benefits that you get out of all these things that you do, right? You know. So I think, okay, so the free weight training is really good, which is great, and I love it. I absolutely enjoy doing my strength training, which is really good. And like I say, every session that I have with Sam, most of them are with him, all my one-to-ones and my, sessions.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to what he's saying, and I'm trying to make sure that when I'm going to be training on my own, I do the same thing and don't get injured or anything. But then again, there's always somebody there and in the studio who's always there to point you to the right way of doing things, which is really good as well. But definitely strength training is one of my best things to do, kind of a thing.
Because that is something I think that that is a real factor as we age. It can be relevant at all ages, but making sure we have good form is important, isn't it? And and you certainly have to take care of your body that way, and I guess fuel it in the right way as well. Like what does nutrition look like to you, sort of in general?
Basically, I have I have 2 meals. I used to have 3 meals. So now it's more like my first meal is not till 1 o'clock. So I started 1. And that would be like my lunch stroke breakfast all into 1. And that would be my first meal. After gym, I go home and then I'll have my first meal. And then after that, my last meal will be at 7 o'clock. And that's it. So it's between 1 and 7 are my time that I eat. And after that, I do a break from 7 o'clock till the following day, 1 o'clock. But my body's used to that, and I've always been like that, whereby I never eat breakfast before I train. So then by the time I get home, it's nearly 11:30, 12 o'clock anyway. So by the time I sit down to eat, it is nearly 1 o'clock.
So it doesn't sound like that's necessarily intentionally this way. Basically, you've kind of built intermittent fasting into your life.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
But there's just how it feels naturally to do that.
Absolutely, yes. And it's not something I never feel like I'm never hungry first thing in the morning, and I can't train with having breakfast or anything like that. So I just leave it, and I can train better on an empty stomach. Whereas there are some people that I speak to, and they say, "Oh, I could never train without eating." You know, I need. So everybody's individual.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's just me. So my first meal is at 1, and my last is at about 7, half 7, the latest. And then that's it. I'm done after that. So,
and what does your what does your food look like in terms of, kind of go-tos, like staples for you? What sort of things?
Usually, I mean, at lunchtime, it'll be chicken, fish, salmon, or eggs, depending, And then I usually tend to cook a little bit more, so that in next lunchtime there's always enough there. And because I'm hungry by that time, then by 1 o'clock, then I don't start snacking into things and not dig into food that you shouldn't be eating. So if it's already ready there, so my meal, when I cook my evening meal, I usually tend to cook a little bit more, so that the next day when I do come to eating, it's there. It's just ready to eat, kind of a thing. Because that's one dangerous thing, is that if the food is not ready, then you will start looking for snacking and putting things in that you shouldn't really, or like grapes or something. But I tend not to buy any grapes anymore, because every time I open the fridge, I want to put one in my mouth. And that was the other thing. That sounds like you are eating too many grapes, maybe, because I did. So I stopped buying grapes. I thought, well, right, Raj doesn't eat them, and there was me only who was the only one who was eating them. So I stopped, right, no more. The good thing about it all is also that the fact that Raj is with me at the same gym. So we are kind of on the same diet or the same nutrition thing. So we're both eating the same food, really.
Yeah, it makes it easier,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, definitely makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because when you're cooking same food, it's easier to do that rather
Yeah.
than, having to make different food for different people.
Yeah.
So at least this way, we're both eating the same, so except that his portions are slightly larger than mine. That's the only thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, a lot of people would, especially if they're not, they've not dipped into any kind of like resistance training, or so that we know medically that there are some real benefits to
Absolutely.
resistance training, especially as we age, in terms of strengthening our bones and keeping our muscles and our ligaments flexible but also strong.
That's right.
But it's quite intimidating for many people who kind of haven't delved into that. Do you not sort of like eye the young people around the gym and just think like, oh my goodness, like I'm out of my depth or something?
I don't actually, funnily enough, because I can see myself lifting just, some of them are, I'm lifting the same amount of weights or even more than them. So I never feel that way, because I can lift more than my own weight at times. So I don't feel, I think, I can do this,
That's very cool.
So that's a good thing, right? That you can do. I mean, like I say, there are some girls that do come there, and there's one or two in particular, and I watch them and I think to myself, oh my God, these girls can lift, and they're so small and petite and yet so strong. And I was talking to Raj the other day, my husband, and he was like, I said, well, you're forgetting one thing. She's probably half your age, hence the reason she can lift so much more. I said, well, why can't I do that? And that's when I was saying to Sam the other day, when you say do the pull-ups, and I couldn't do them. And I said, you need to get something strong inside me that I can start doing this, because I need to do them. If that's the last thing I do now, is I'm going to make sure that I do them.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So it's inspiring to you, actually.
Thank you.
So would you say? So you mentioned last episode that you feel much younger than your years, and I hear so many people say that who have found a good balance between the exercise they do, the food they eat. I talk to guys in their 40s who tell me they feel like they're in their 20s. You kind of describe yourself as feeling kind of maybe like you're in your 40s sort of thing, or much younger than your years. So, it's not going to be the same for everyone, but my guess is that for a lot of people, as they age, that through their particular lifestyle, kind of situation, that they're probably feeling more aches, more pains, more tired than they could.
Yeah.
Making some sort of adjustments and integrating some things into their life. Obviously, you talked about last episode, like a simple way to do that is to increase the number of steps you do. And like, how true do you feel that is? From your experience and talking to other people and stuff.
Well, I think it's definitely helping me a lot, and when I speak to people at the gym. And you can see the results that people are getting as well at the same time, that it definitely works. Definitely does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so last thing for today. What about the future? Like, what's your game plan for the next few years?
Is I still have to carry on coming to the gym as much as I am doing now. The good thing is that I'm retired now, so I've got, for me, my mornings are for myself, because I've got elderly parents who are in their 90s, that I do tend to go and see them and look after them as well a bit.
Yeah.
Luckily, they are still very independent as well. So, and then I've got family, children, grandchildren, but my mornings, I've always kept it that way, that from when I wake up in the morning till my lunchtime, I try to keep those for myself. So I only do what I need to do for myself. And then after that, whatever it is for the rest of the family.
Yeah.
So that way, I think I can keep a balance of both. And I sort of, if I know that my daughter is coming, for instance, and I'm not going to be able to get to the gym, I'll do it somehow. So I come early morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning, to get that session in.
Yeah.
And then I'll spend the rest of the day with them. But I'll have to somehow put that session in there. I mean, like the other day I was at the gym at, I think it was 7 o'clock, 7:45 in the morning, and someone was like, look at the time. And I said, yeah, I know, I've got family commitments, so I thought, get in here before everybody gets up. So
that's really good. So you are filling your cup up first,
yes,
and then that enables you to
to
then
look after
successfully
everybody
look after
else.
everyone
Yes,
else. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So if
amazing.
you're fit enough, and if you can look after yourself first, and then the rest of the, I mean, when you go on a plane, what do they first tell you? Make sure you put your seatbelts on first before you, or if there's any danger or anything, put your mask before you
Yeah, that's
attend
right,
to
isn't
anybody
it?
next to you. It's
Yeah.
like that, isn't it?
Yep.
That you look after yourself first, so you can look after everybody else, can't
Yes.
you? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit like that, I suppose.
Amazing. You are an inspiration.
Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I could talk all day, pick your brains on a lot of things, but hopefully we'll get to do this again.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
All right, you take care.
Thank you.